Have you ever caught yourself staying quiet even thought you wanted to say something? Laughing at a joke you didn't actually find funny, pretending to like something just because everyone else did. Most of us have done it, not because we're fake, but because we want to belong. And maybe that's exactly why so many people never become themselves. Welcome to Philosophy, a place for those who seek a deeper understanding of themselves, their mind, and their path. Think back to your school years. Was there someone everyone called weird? Maybe they were quiet, maybe they dressed differently, had unusual hobbies, or simply didn't fit in with everyone else. Most people avoided them, laughed at them, others joined in just because everyone else did. It didn't take much to become the weird kid. Sometimes all it took was being a little different from everyone else. Very few people ever stopped to ask why they were different. Instead, they judged, created stories about who that person was, and never looked any deeper. They didn't see the fears, the experiences, or the struggles that shaped them. They only saw someone who didn't fit in. And the saddest part is that many of those people probably weren't strange at all. They were simply themselves, in a world that expected everyone to be the same. Maybe you remember that person, or maybe you were that person. Why does this happen? Our brain naturally prefers familiarity because familiar people and situations make it easier to predict what might happen next. That's why we often connect more easily with people who share same interests, values, experiences, or ways of thinking. But when someone behaves differently, thinks differently, dresses differently, or simply doesn't follow the crowd, our brain suddenly has more work to do. We can no longer predict what that person might say or do next. That uncertainty creates discomfort. And when something feels uncomfortable, many people instinctively distance themselves from it. Not because that person is dangerous, but because we instinctively become more cautious around what we don't understand. Society encourages us to be unique, to be authentic, to think differently, to stand out instead of following everyone else. But the moment someone truly does that, the reaction often changes. Judgment appears. Gossip begins. People stare, avoid them, or quietly wonder what's wrong with them. Suddenly, being different isn't admired anymore. It's uncomfortable. The truth is, society often doesn't reward originality. It rewards originality that is easy to accept and easy to copy. Think back to the weird kid from school. If they collected insects, people thought it was strange. But if years later, popular influencer starts posting videos about insects, millions suddenly find it fascinating. The hobby didn't change, society's opinion did. The same happens with trends. Trends let us feel unique without taking the risk of actually standing out. We wear the same clothes, use the same phrases, copy the same aesthetics, follow the same routines, while believing we're expressing our individuality. There's nothing wrong with enjoying trends, but following a trend isn't the same as expressing who you truly are. The funny thing is, what's considered weird today can easily become normal tomorrow. Wearing second-hand clothes was once seen as something embarrassing. Today, buying vintage is considered stylish and environment-friendly. Being the smartest student in class was once called being a nerd. Today, intelligence is something people admire. What was once mocked can easily become the next social norm. All it takes is enough people doing it. That's why so many people wait. They wait until enough others have already done something first. Because following the crowd feels safe. Being first feels risky. Yet almost every new idea, every movement, or every positive change in society started with someone who was willing to look different before everyone else decided it was acceptable. The desire to be accepted can become so strong that people slowly begin hiding parts of themselves just to fit in. At first, it's something small. They stopped saying what they really think. They hide the hobbies people make fun of. They laugh at jokes they don't actually find funny. They agree with opinions they don't truly believe in. Little by little, they learn that being accepted feels easier than being authentic. But every time you hide a part of yourself, you move a little further away from who you truly are. After years of trying to fit in, many people no longer know where the act ends and where they begin. They struggle to tell the difference between what they genuinely want and what they think they're supposed to want. Some people become so good at pretending that one day they no longer recognize the person behind the mask. One of the greatest tragedies isn't being rejected by other people. It's spending so many years pretending that you eventually reject yourself. Before we continue, I want to make one thing clear. Being authentic doesn't mean every behavior should be accepted. Some people manipulate, bully, or hurt others and justify it by saying that's just who I am. That's not the kind of authenticity I'm talking about. If someone's actions consistently harm other people, it's important to protect yourself and keep healthy boundaries. Authenticity should never become an excuse for causing harm. Everyone encourages you to be authentic. But ask yourself, when someone truly lives differently, do you become curious or judgmental? Do you try to understand them, or do you immediately assume something is wrong with them? Curiosity creates understanding. Judgment ends it. Authenticity isn't disappearing, it's hiding. People learn very early that showing who they really are often comes with rejection, so instead they become acceptable. They choose the safer version of themselves, not because they want to pretend, but because they want to belong. The world loses something every time a person chooses acceptance over authenticity. Imagine how many incredible personalities never fully show themselves because they're afraid of being laughed at, misunderstood, or rejected. How many ideas never get shared, how many talents stay hidden, not because those people aren't capable, but because they don't feel safe enough to be themselves. If we created an environment where people felt accepted before they felt judged, we wouldn't just see more authentic people, we would see more creativity, more honesty, and more kindness, in a world where people no longer feel they have to hide who they truly are. Every person you meet carries a story you cannot see. Sometimes people who seem the strangest on the outside are simply the ones who have spent the longest hiding who they truly are. And maybe the next person you choose not to judge will finally feel safe enough to be themselves. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or reach out through social media at Philosotory. Be yourself and make it easier for others to be themselves too.